Hey Future Toppers, welcome. Today, we're jumping straight into a topic that is guaranteed to show up on your CUET exam and, let's be honest, confuses a lot of students. The basicity of amines. If this has ever tripped you up, stick around, because we're about to make it crystal clear. Let's get right into it. So, let's kick things off with the big money question, the one that stumps everyone. On paper, it seems simple, right? A tertiary amine has count them, three electron donating groups, so it should be the strongest base. But it's not. Not even close, especially in water. Why is that? Understanding this little paradox is your ticket to some easy marks. And I promise, if you stay with me till the end, you'll never get this wrong again.
Now, you might be thinking, why all the hype? Well, here's the deal. The people who set your CUET paper are absolutely in love with this concept. Seriously, they'll throw it at you in assertion-reason questions, tricky multi-statement questions, you name it. And mastering this isn't just about memorizing one answer. It's about connecting the dots with huge ideas in organic chemistry like inductive effects and solvation. Get this right, and you're building a much stronger foundation.
Okay, let's dial it back to square one for just a second. What even makes an amine basic to begin with? It boils down to one thing. That lone pair of electrons just chilling on the nitrogen atom. See, that little pair is available. It's ready to go out and snatch a proton, an H+ ion from its surroundings. Because it can donate that electron pair, we call it a Lewis base. And because it accepts a proton, it's also a Brønsted-Lowry base. The entire game we're about to play is all about how easy it is for a proton to get to that lone pair.
So if it's all about that lone pair's availability, what's controlling it? Well, this is where the main drama unfolds. It's a total tug-of-war inside the molecule between two powerful competing forces, the inductive effect and the solvation effect. Understanding this battle is the key to everything. Let's break them down. First up, let's talk about the inductive effect. You can think of alkyl groups, like methyls and ethyls, as really generous friends. They are electron donating. They essentially push their electron density towards the nitrogen atom. This makes that nitrogen super electron rich, which in turn kind of pushes that lone pair out, making it way more obvious and available for a proton to come and grab it. So logically you'd think, hey, the more of these generous alkyl groups I have, the stronger the base must be.
And boom, this is the trap. This is trap number one. If the inductive effect was the only thing that mattered, the order of basicity would be super simple. Tertiary is the best, then secondary, then primary, and poor old ammonia comes in last. A tertiary amine has three groups pushing electrons in, so it just has to be the strongest, right? Well, hold that thought, because this is only half of the story, and CUET loves to test you on the other half.
Okay, now check this out, because this is where it all clicks. In the gas phase, where there's no water around, our logic actually works perfectly. The order is 3, 2, 1. The inductive effect is king. But the second you put these amines in water, an aqueous solution, the entire game changes. The order gets shuffled, and look who comes out on top. The secondary amine is suddenly the champion. This is a massive clue. It tells us that water isn't just a spectator, it's an active player in this game.
And that brings us to our second, and honestly, for your exam, the more important factor, the solvation effect. Now listen closely. This effect isn't about the amine itself. It's about what happens after the amine does its job and accepts a proton. It turns into its conjugate acid, a positively charged ammonium ion. Here's the rule. The more stable this new ion is, the more eagerly the original amine will form it. And what makes it stable? You guessed it, the surrounding water molecules, through hydrogen bonding.
Let's picture this, okay? Think of the water molecules giving this new ammonium ion a big, stabilizing group hug using hydrogen bonds. The primary ammonium ion has 3 hydrogens available for bonding. It gets a fantastic, super stable hug from water. The secondary one has 2 hydrogens, still a pretty good hug, right? But now look at the tertiary ion. It's only got 1 hydrogen, and it's surrounded by these bulky alkyl groups. This is called steric hindrance. It's basically elbowing the water molecules away, so it gets a really weak, flimsy hug, making it the least stable of all.
And here it is, the aha moment. This is the solution to the puzzle. Why is the secondary amine the strongest in water? It's because it hits the sweet spot. It's got the best of both worlds. It has a strong push from 2 alkyl groups thanks to the inductive effect, and its conjugate acid gets a really good, stabilizing hug from water. It has the perfect balance of both effects, making it the undisputed champion in an aqueous solution. All right, so we've cracked the code for aliphatic amines, but don't relax just yet because CUET has another curveball for you. Let's talk about the aromatic amine trap.
And our main suspect is always aniline. How does this guy fit into the picture?
So what's aniline's deal? Well, that lone pair on its nitrogen isn't just sitting there waiting for a proton to come by. Nope, it's got a full-time job. It's busy participating in resonance with the benzene ring. It gets pulled into the ring and spread out, delocalized over the entire molecule. And because that lone pair isn't localized on the nitrogen anymore, it's way less available to act as a base. And that's the simple reason why pretty much any aliphatic amine is going to be a stronger base than aniline.
Okay, fantastic. We've got the theory locked down. Now, let's shift gears and look at how this stuff actually shows up in exam questions. You absolutely need to know a few key reactions that are used to tell the difference between primary, secondary, and tertiary amines.
First on our list is acylation. Now, the key thing to remember, the only thing really, is that for this reaction to work, the amine must have a hydrogen atom attached to its nitrogen. That's the non-negotiable rule. So primary and secondary amines, they've both got at least one NH bond, so they react just fine. But what about tertiary amines? No hydrogen on the nitrogen, so they completely fail this test. They do not react. This is a super important point for identification question.
Next up, we have the carbylamine test. This one is a dead giveaway. It's a highly specific, absolutely confirmatory test. Here's how it works. You treat an amine with chloroform and potassium hydroxide. If it's a primary amine, you will get an isocyanide, which has one of the most disgusting, foul smells in all of chemistry. Just remember, this test works for only primary amines. Secondary and tertiary amines, nothing happens. So if you see foul smell in a question, your brain should immediately scream primary amine.
So let's wrap all of that up in this perfect little summary table. Go ahead, take a screenshot of this right now. This is your high-yield revision gold. In water, basicity. Secondary is the highest. Acylation, it's a yes for primary and secondary, but a big no for tertiary. And the carbylamine test, a definite yes for primary and a hard no for secondary and tertiary. This is everything you need.
I know. That was a ton of information. So how are we going to make sure all of this sticks in your head on exam day? Well, let's move on to my favorite part, some super simple memory tricks.
Here you go. This is the only thing you need for basicity in an aqueous solution, which is what they'll ask 99% of the time. Just remember this number, 213. That's it, 213. It means secondary is the strongest, then primary, then tertiary. Write it down, say it out loud, 213. Burn that number into your brain and you will never get this question wrong.
All right, the theory's done. You've got your memory trick. Now it's time to see if you can apply it. We're going to run through some quick SU-level questions. I'll pop the question up, you hit pause, solve it, and then unpause to check your answer with me. You ready for this? Let's go.
First question for you. Which of these amines will not undergo acylation? We've got a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary amine listed here. What was the one golden rule for acylation? Go ahead and pause the explainer now. Okay, did you get it? The correct answer is C, the tertiary amine. Why? Because acylation absolutely has to have a hydrogen atom on the nitrogen to react. The tertiary amine has all its hydrogens replaced by methyl groups, so no reaction.
Question number 2. Aniline is a weaker base than ethylamine. Why is that? Is it because of the plus-I effect, solvation, resonance, or hydrogen bonding? Think about what makes aniline unique. Pause and lock in your answer. All right, the correct answer is, of course, C, resonance. Remember, aniline's lone pair is not sitting on the nitrogen. It's busy being shared around the entire benzene ring. That makes it much less available to act as a base. Classic question.
Okay, let's get serious for a second. I want to point out the 5 biggest mistakes I see students make year after year on this topic. Please, listen up. First, applying the gas phase order to an aqueous solution question. Second, completely forgetting about the solvation effect. Third, ignoring resonance in aniline. Fourth, thinking the carbylamine test works for all amines. And fifth, saying that tertiary amines undergo acylation. Avoid these traps and you're way ahead of the competition.
All right, here's your final rapid-fire 2-minute revision. Let's go. Point 1, amines are basic because of that lone pair on the nitrogen. Point 2, in water, the basicity order is 2-1-3, all thanks to that balance between inductive and solvation effects. Point 3, aromatic amines are weaker because of resonance. Point 4, acylation needs an NH bond, so it only works for primary and secondary. And point 5, the carbylamine test and its horrible smell is a dead giveaway for a primary amine only. Got it? Good.
And just like that, you are done. You've officially conquered one of the trickiest concepts in organic chemistry for CUET. I'm curious, how'd you do on the practice questions? Drop your score in the comments below. I'd love to see it. And hey, if you are a serious CUET aspirant, someone who's ready to put in the work to crack this exam, make sure you subscribe. We've got plenty more high-yield explainers coming your way. Awesome work today, and I'll see you in the next one.